And our final matchup here, that's going to be the one we're starting on with our coverage. That's our 2-7 matchup. Our 2 seed is Kyle Hodar, who we saw on camera last round, clinched this top 8 playing Yawgmoth. So we got 2 Yawgmoth decks in this top 8.
Nice.
Big
Is
show.
it the only repeater?
If you count the 4 colors.
2 on that decks, but one of them was a little bit different.
Yeah. And our 7 seed, Jeffrey Hicks, have not seen him at all today. He's playing mono red Eldrazi. Really interesting deck. So a lot of rogue decks here with the Jeskai Blade, the Domain Zoo, and the mono red Eldrazi. We'll see how they can do against these established archetypes of 4-color, Yawgmoth, and Tron.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see who takes it down. I think the players are ready in the feature match area, so we're going to not make you all wait any longer. Let's go ahead and head down to the match as we start our top 8 here.
Hey.
Both players drawing their opener. Wonder. All right.
Gotta update this this graphic here. Don't worry, that'll get fixed in a second. Looks like our mono red Eldrazi player Jeffrey Hicks is on the right. Yep. And on the left, you got Kyle Hodar. So Kyle's going to be on the play by virtue of the higher seed here. Went 5-1 in the Swiss. So that is the one benefit of not being able to draw in the last round, being forced to play. If you do get the win, you're going to have more match points, have that higher seed, be on the play more often.
Yeah, when you get to these events where it's Swiss plus top 8, these larger events like your RCQs and stuff, they're a little bit different structure than something like your normal Friday Night Magic. Instead of those 4-rounders where there's no top 8 or anything like that, we do have a top 8 cut, and then we're in the elimination rounds. But whoever has the best record or the highest tiebreakers with a tied record is going to get to choose the play or the draw. Something that's very important here, normally determined by a die roll, but your performance during the Swiss is indicative of your ability to go first in the elimination bracket.
Really interesting mono Eldrazi list here from Jeff Hicks. Not playing Eldrazi Obligator in the main deck. There's 3 in the sideboard, none in the main. Instead going for a more disruptive route. We got 4 copies of Chalice of the Void, 2 Blood Moons in the main, 3 Lightning Bolt, 3 Bone Crusher Giant, 4 Fury, and some Seasoned Pyromancers so you can generate some card advantage with that interaction. I think those Furies, Lightning Bolts, and all that removal is going to really help against Yawgmoth, which is a matchup that very much depends on getting its mana engine going.
All right, well, looks like there's a little bit of miscommunication. The players didn't know that they were allowed to start. We have gotten that figured out. They're about to begin. We're going to have a best-of-3 game match here between Kyle Hodar's Golgari Yawgmoth and Jeff Hicks' mono red Eldrazi. I'm curious to see how this mono red Eldrazi deck plays out, especially in the face of this like pretty quick combo from the black-green Yawgmoth deck.
Yeah. One of the other interesting cards that Hicks has is 3 copies of Leyline of Combustion. That actually, you know, could potentially stop the combo with Drolf's Messenger. So each time the Messenger targets, you know, Jeff, it'll deal Kyle 2 damage. Notably does not stop Zulaport Cutthroat.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how some lists play Cutthroat, some play Blood Artist, and there's subtle differences. That's actually a difference. Blood Artist does target on that Drain Life. Zulaport Cutthroat does not, so it gets around those ley lines should Jeff deploy one of them.
All right, we're hot and heavy here in the first couple turns. Birds of Paradise on turn 1 gets bolted from Jeff Hicks' side, but that Shatter Skull Smashing is going to come in, shock for 3 damage to be untapped to cast the Lightning Bolt. And now Strangerroot Geist tacking on 2 for Hodar is putting Jeff Hicks all the way down to 15, and he's just starting a second turn.
Yeah, Kyle Hodar says, I'm the beatdown deck.
One thing that's really cool about the Eldrazi decks now is that Prismatic Vista can actually find wastes. And so you see the Blood Moons in this mono red Eldrazi deck. Normally you need some sort of, you know,
artifact mana.
Well, I was going to say colorless mana for your Eldrazi to be cast, and Blood Moon often shuts down the dual lands that would normally be able to cast off of the colorless mana, like your Carplusian Forest or your Ramunap Ruins.
Yep.
But with Prismatic Vista, you're able to fetch up wastes and play Blood Moon in your Eldrazi deck.
Yeah, so this list has 4 Temple, 4 Cavern of Souls, 2 Wastes, and the 4 Prismatic Vistas. So you're looking at 14 colorless sources.
Nice.
Without having to resort to playing any really weak dual lands like Ramunap Ruins.
Yeah. Well, you say weak dual lands. I think Ramunap Ruins kicks ass. So here we go for turn number 3 for Kyle Hodar. He gets untapped with a Strangerroot Geist. Chalice on 1 from Hicks is going to slow down any sort of mana development off of Birds or Ignoble Hierarch. Or even Young Wolf as a late game combo piece, so we'll see if he's able to fight through that. Doesn't stop Court of Calling though, so even if we need one of those one drops, it's not going to be stopped by the Chalice.
Yeah, notably the mono red list has 4 Ragavan and 3 Lightning Bolt that got stopped by his own Chalice. One of those bolts already being cast though.
Yeah, and obviously a little bit more important for Jeff Hicks and the Eldrazi decks to slow down the mana development and that combo potential. And since one of those 1-drops has already been cast, maybe it doesn't draw anymore. But it looks like there's a Ragavan hanging out in hand now, kind of rotting. We'll see if he can figure out a way to put some pressure on the table. Hicks on turn 3.
Definitely on Hicks to apply pressure in this matchup. Eventually, the Yawgmoth deck is gonna outgrind you.
All right, there's a land. Honestly, have no idea what it is. If it's Eldrazi Temple,
I think that's a Cavern.
Cavern of Souls. All right, naming something.
I'm gonna guess Eldrazi.
Looks like it is Monkey, and now he's going to cast Ragavan through the Chalice of the Void. So,
oh baby,
here we go. Cavern of Souls with the uncounter ability. This is an old Merfolk trick for those of you at home who haven't been playing Magic for 20 years like me. The decks Merfolk used to play Ether Vial and Chalice of the Void. The Ether Vials could get around Chalice, but also Cavern of Souls, when it was printed, allowed them to play their 1 and 2 drops through their own Chalice of the Void.
Unfortunately for Jeff Hicks, that Ragavan very unlikely to connect with a Strangleroot and Wall of Roots on Hodar's battlefield.
Yeah, while a neat trick, not exactly effective in this spot thanks to that 0-5 wall.
Love me a Wall of Roots.
It's a good card. It's also still bugged on Magic Online, but we're not going to talk about it. It's been 8 years. Who cares? Kyle Hodar, Fetch Shocks, goes and gets Overgrown Tomb. No big deal. Just banned, broken for 8 years. Anyway. Still not salty about it. Jeff Hugla knows what I'm talking about. Fetches Overgrown Tomb. Get a shock down to 17. I believe has a Court of Calling in hand, so we may see like Court of Calling for Yawgmoth. Sack Strangleroot guys kill the Ragavan and then an attack for 3. Something like that seems kind of cool.
Yeah. With the Wall of Roots, you can make a mana and tap it to convoke. So when you're doing math for Court of Calling, you got to count Wall of Roots as a 2.
All right, just has the natural cast on the Yawgmoth here. Might also have that Court of Calling, though, so maybe going for a quick kill if he can find it.
You can court for 1 here.
Yeah, and go get Yawgmoth.
And get Yawgmoth. So that seems like a good idea to me.
All right, he's going to sack it and kill the Ragavan. Just going to put an Undying counter on the Strangleroot guys. It's going to get a counter.
Going to draw a card.
Yep.
But now you can attack if you want to court for 1.
Kyle, trying to figure out what the best course of action is. Just going to bang for 3. Going to put Hicks down to 9.
I guess you could attack for 3 and then still court. Oh, no, you already used the wall. Okay.
But now you can wall, tap it, forest, Yawgmoth, go get a 1-drop, and then draw 15 cards, untap it, and try to kill.
Okay. So you can just wait until Hicks' turn when the Wall of Roots is usable again and still get the court in. So yeah, the attack for 3 is fine.
1 turn too late on this Eldrazi Temple. Jeff Hicks is going to try to play a Thought-Knot Seer here and strip Kyle of one of his last few cards. We'll see if he has Cord to go get. It's just a Yawgmoth that stopped by the Chalice of the Void. I was wrong about the Court of Calling. It was a Yawgmoth's Cradle. Apologies for that.
Okay, so just 2 lands in Hodar's hand now after the Yawgmoth gets taken, and he can draw some cards. Dryad Arbor can get sacrificed targeting the Geist, then you can sack the Geist, then you can sack the Wall of Roots targeting the Geist, then you can sack the Geist again. So we're going to draw at least 4 extra cards along with the card for turn here.
Yep, and we're going to be able to float some mana off the Wall of Roots if you want to sack that, or the Dryad Arbor. So a lot of potential food here. You can also target Jeff Hicks' stuff a little bit, killing the Ragavan to clear the way.
Yeah, so really any Undying creature that's not Yawgmoth, that because it gets stopped by Chalice, will be great here. Any Cord, any Eldritch Evolution, as long as it comes in time. That's why I think you would want to sack the Dryad Arbor first. Wall better with Eldritch Evolution. I don't think we want to play a land before drawing cards, especially if it enters tapped.
Well, maybe Hodar has a different plan here. Maybe going to go for some proliferate action, play a little slowly, play a little defensively. I would love to see like a block, a activation of Yawgmoth, and then a proliferate. The Strangleroot guys can also gain a counter to become a 4/3 and trade with the Thought-Knot Seer. So a lot of potential action. I would have liked to have seen an aggressive play though.
Yeah. Be aggressive.
All right, this is a 5-mana play. It's a 4-mana play. So Chalice of the Void on X equals 2. See if there's any response.
Strangleroot Geist is a good draw. So we cut something else out. There's not many 2-mana spells in this Eldrazi deck. I think Stomp might be the only one.
Yeah, there's also not a lot of 2-mana spells out of the Yawgmoth deck too. It's basically just the Strangleroot Geist and the Zulaport Cutthroat, but those can both be found off of various other things. Looks like we found Endurance as our draw for the turn, so we were kind of trying to ambush the Eldrazi deck, but instead we're just going to cast this 3/4 body, and now we might get a little aggressive because the Yawgmoth actually allows for some onboard tricks.
Yeah, Hicks at 9 here, so you can get aggressive and pressure his life total, force him into some blocks, and then use Yawgmoth to control combat.
Yeah, I think Grist was the pickup here for the turn, so this is going to be backbreaking for Hicks. If that is Grist, it's going to come down, throw the Dryad Arbor at the Thought-Knot Seer. It's going to kill it, draw a card, and then we're going to see an aggressive attack here, and maybe even a lethal one.
Yeah, you got to figure the Grist sacking the Wall of Roots deals with the Thought-Knot Seer, and then you can sack Dryad Arbor to deal with the Rogavan, and you've got an 8-point attack. Okay. So you can actually, there's a lethal line here.
Yeah, and when tapped out, this is an on-board kill, I think.
So we sack Wall of Roots to the Grist, deal with the Thought-Knot Seer, and we sack the Dryad Arbor, deal with the Rogavan, attack for 8 with Yawgmoth, Endurance, and Stranglegeist, and then use the Yawgmoth's second ability to put a counter on the Geist for the 9th point.
Yeah, Proliferate, not just a way to increase a -1/-1 in poison counters, it can also add an additional +1/+1 counter.
Looks like Grist decided to make a token instead.
Okay, taking a different line here, maybe just missed the kill, it's okay. We'll try to figure it out over the next few turns. Grist very powerful here, might actually just win the game by itself, and the Eldrazi deck can't really put up a whole lot of pressure in the face of all these blockers.
Yeah, still in a great spot here. That last line of text on Yawgmoth is little used, so easy to overlook.
On top of that, though, we do have the ability to add a loyalty counter to the Grist, I believe, and what that does actually allows for potential ultimate next turn. Maybe that's the line Kyle Hodar is going for, and that's the one he sees, so that's the one he's playing to.
Sure. That Proliferate on Yawgmoth can also add counters to those Chalices. If you think that Chalice on 1 can just become another Chalice on 2.
Yeah.
If you want it to.
Well, no Proliferate. I'm going to have to give Kyle a piece of my mind and see if he knows that there is additional text. I know that there's a novel on every card these days, but that Proliferate mechanic is pretty powerful.
Grist pluses again and makes another insect.
And before Twitch chat tells me that I'm stupid and Yawgmoth does something different than what I think,
I'm pretty sure it's black, discard a card, Proliferate.
Yeah, I think so too. But, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, well, it looks like we have a couple of insect tokens. We can start sacking those to Yawgmoth, shrinking the Thought-Knot Seer, or removing counters from Stranglegeist and draw cards. And now we're just looking for the combo kill. We have plenty of food to go for the Yawgmoth. No reason to hold back anymore.
Yeah, and if you draw Stranglegeist or Young Wolf, you can Proliferate with the Yawgmoth to move whichever Chalice is getting in your way. And then start going off with all of those undying creatures. Yeah, now we're shrinking this Thought-Knot Seer.
The Proliferate on Yawgmoth actually comes up a decent amount. I watch Demonic Tutors stream a bunch, and he plays a lot of Yawgmoth in Modern, and it can do some really cool stuff. You can put one counter on up to like 2 or 3 different creatures sometimes, and then Proliferate and kill them all.
Okay, we're seeing it Proliferate here. Yawgmoth gets discarded to the Yawgmoth, and it looks like he is adding counters to one of these Chalices.
Yeah, so the one that's on X = 2 is going to get put up to 3. And then the Grist is going to go to 6, but it's already been plussed. And he's going to -1/-1 on the Thought-Knots here. I believe he has Stranglegeist, which he's going to play for turn. And he can maybe take out the Thought-Knots here with a sack that and a sack the Wall of Roots. And that's going to clear the way for a potentially lethal attack.
Yeah, that should do it here. Oh, another Wall of Roots was the draw. That is not nearly as good.
I think he has a Stranglegeist too, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of moving pieces here in the Yawgmoth deck. And it is. And that should be lethal as long as Jeffix doesn't have a piece of interaction. But with 5 mana untapped and no play on the previous turn, you have to imagine he has something. I don't think his hand would be completely rotting, but he's just going to pack it in. He sees the rotting on the wall. And we're going to have game 1 go over to Kyle Hodar and that Golgari Yawgmoth strategy. A powerful card and a powerful deck against creature matchups.
Yeah, I think a lot of Rogavans drawn there for Jeff Hicks, and this is not the matchup.
No, it is not. Wall of Roots quite good against the 2/1 monkey, the $100 bill.
As is Young Wolf.
Yeah.
we got multiple commons that brick wall that in this deck. So looking at Jeff Hicks' sideboard for the mono red Eldrazi side, we got 2 Shattering Spree. That's a negative. 2 Warping Whale. Those can be pretty good, exiling undying creatures or dealing with mana creatures.
Holy crap. Okay, real quick, I'm sorry to we have a huge gifted sub bomb. This comes from Raging Rune Lord dropping a 50 sub bomb. If you got a sub, make sure to shout out Raging Rune Lord in chat. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. That's a huge boost. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
That's Chris Buick. You guys met him the other day.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's a local here.
Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate you, bud.
We've met a lot of people in the last 2 days, so apologize if we don't remember every single person.
But I remember.
Wow. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from the Warping Whale, we got 2 copies of Engineered Explosives. Those could be okay, but I'm not a huge fan of them. You got a lot of good removal for the mana creatures, and you got to kill the early ones anyway. So it's hard to like wait for the EE to do a ton. Plus you're a mono red deck, so you can really only do it for X = 1. We got 3 copies of Leyline of the Void. That one's quite good because it stops the undying creatures. So I think we'll see those come in. 2 Magus of the Moon and 1 Blood Moon. Not really great against a mana creature deck. And 3 Eldrazi Obligator. I think these are going to come in just so we can get more aggressive. We need the pressure. And I think there are some things that can come out, starting with those 4 Ragavans. I know it's the best and most expensive card in the deck. This is not the matchup for it.
Yeah, it's hard to justify Ragavan against a deck with Yawgmoth. I don't really see how it ever does damage consistently. Unless you play it on turn 1 and then your opponent leads with like Ignoble Hierarch or Birds of Paradise. I mean, that it is on the play, potentially good, and if a sideboard doesn't feel like it has that much to do, then perhaps leaves them because there's nothing really better.
Yeah, on the other side here from Kyle Hodar, we got 3 Endurance, 2 Force of Vigor, 1 Crime Punishment, 1 Scavenging Ooze, 1 Drannith Magistrate, 1 Kataki War's Wage, 1 Outland Liberator, 1 Magus of the Moon, 2 Thoughtseize, 1 Necromentia, 1 Veil of Summer. I'm not really seeing anything I like that much. Maybe you need some sort of disenchants for those ley lines if you see them coming. But
or the potentially the Chalice of the Voids too.
Yeah, I guess Chalice is just not that big of a deal to me. But yeah, I think you would bring in the 2 Force of Vigors and the Outland Liberator because you want your disenchants. But other than that, it doesn't seem great to me. Maybe Scavenging Ooze could be okay. Can become a big body, get a little life.
I like it.
Stabilize the battlefield.
Scavenging Ooze can pretty regularly trade up to a not a Matter Reshaper, the big one, Reality Smasher.
Reality Smasher.
So, and gain some life in the way.
So I think that one could also be reasonable. You got to expect that your opponent's going to have a lot more interaction, some hate cards for you. So you can't just go straight combo against them. And your combo can get weakened because this mono red deck can be very aggressive. So if they deal a lot of early damage, suddenly your Yawgmoth engine is weakened just because you don't have as much life to play with. So I like trying to get a little bit better in terms of playing that fair game, and Scavenging Ooze helps in that respect.
Yeah. All right, both players seem like they're about ready here for game number 2 in our top 8 round. Kyle Hodar in that Black Green Yawgmoth deck, been on camera 2 rounds in a row. Cruising, just winning as much as he's been on camera. Hasn't lost a game yet. Jeff Hicks with that mono red Eldrazi deck, this unique, sidestepper as far as red decks are concerned. Maybe could squeak out this match, but it's going to be tough because the Yawgmoth deck really preys on creature-based matchups, especially ones that don't have a ton of ways to actually kill Yawgmoth.
And the Eldrazi deck does have Fury that kills Yawgmoth, but it's not instant speed, and oftentimes you do need to kill Yawgmoth immediately on their turn, so that could be a problem. I think it's going to be really important for Jeff Hicks to both be aggressive and attack Kyle Hodar's mana. Get those Ignoble Hierarchs, those Birds of Paradise out of the way. You have a lot of ways to do that efficiently, Fury being one of them. And then try to get into your Thought-Knot Seers and your Reality Smashers, because those are the cards that the Yawgmoth deck is a lot worse at blocking, especially Reality Smasher. Thought-Knot can also take, a Court of Calling or Yawgmoth from the hand. So those are the cards that I'm looking to see in my opening hand, and I want to mulligan aggressively for them. Hicks taking a mulligan here.
Yeah, so going to be down on 6 cards. Wow, just that 50 sub-bomb, man, just crazy. Found the Leyline of Combustion, perhaps is going to be good, but ends up having to mulligan to 5.
Yeah, that was a no-lander, unfortunately. Notably, did see Eldrazi Obligator, Rogavan, and Leyline of Combustion. So
A lot of sideboard cards coming in.
Obligator's the only sideboard card, but I thought Rogavan would be coming out. Maybe, on the play, hard to board it out. So maybe Hicks thinks it's fine. It does have a lot of removal to try to force it through, especially when you're on the play. So justifiable there, but interesting. I'll be interested to know exactly what he did take out to get those Obligators in.
Right.
You got to know the ley lines are coming in as well.
All right. Well, we are on 5 cards from Jeff Hicks, so this might be a swift end to Jeff's tournament. We'll see if his 5-card hand can compete with Kyle Hodar's Yawgmoth deck. Kyle Hodar up a game. But Jeff Hicks is going to be on the play, and anything's possible. These Eldrazi decks are traditionally very good at mulliganing because the 2-mana lands are extremely powerful. Very similar to how mulliganing with Tron isn't as backbreaking as long as you can generate that early mana. A little bit different when you're playing Fury and cards that pitch, though.
Well, looks like on 5 cards, Hicks is putting these Furies away. He says, I can't afford to lose 2 cards for it, even though it's a powerful effect in the matchup. But does have an Eldrazi Temple, I think.
Yeah, also has a Leyline of Combustion. We'll see how good that one is. Probably not going to be targeting any of the creatures anytime soon as Kyle Hodar, because they get punished pretty aggressively.
So Yawgmoth probably only targeting undying things.
Well, tends to do that anyway. All right, looks like we got a reader. Kyle Hodar going to take a peek at the Leyline of Combustion to make sure that it's not going to kill his Birds of Paradise or something. But it is one of those cards that's kind of a preventative measure. Makes it so that if your opponent ever targets your stuff with a spell or ability, Leyline of Combustion deals 2 damage to that player. Now, it also prevents your opponent from targeting you or dealing them damage, and I think that would normally work against a Blood Artist, but I don't think it works against a Zulaport Cutthroat, so this Leyline of Combustion might be a bit lackluster here.
Notably, it does work against Drolf's Messenger. So if Hicks can keep his life total ahead of Hodar's, those Messenger loops are not going to be a good way for Hodar to win the game.
Tokens on the second land from Jeff Hicks. A small hand because of the double mulligan. We'll see if he can put up some threats next turn. Saw no Eldrazi Temple hanging out. Maybe he's going to play Thought-Knots here. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
would love to see a Stomp or a Bolt for this bird, but a turn 3 Thought-Knots here is, the bread and butter for Eldrazi.
Misty Rainforest going to be the play for Hodar. He's going to find a snow-covered forest. See what he does with the mana. Could play Wall of Roots or some other aggressive element like Stringerroot Geist. Could go for a turn 2 Grist. Grist quite powerful against Eldrazi, I have to imagine.
Grist is just the best card in the deck.
Grist is a nicer.
I don't know if anybody has realized that yet.
I've realized it.
Yeah.
All right, Stringerroot Geist going to be the play. 1 mana open here for Kyle. I wonder what he's going to do with it. He's going to attack for 2 first with a hasted creature.
Could be another mana creature. It could be a Thoughtseize out of the board, or a Yawgmoth.
Young Wheezy.
So we've got double black mana next turn, 4 mana with a 4th land, and 2 undying creatures. If there's a land in Yawgmoth in hand, Kyle is almost there.
All right, but we have the Thought-Knots here, and that's going to take away a big piece here, and it's going to be Yawgmoth. Now, there's only one Zulaport Cutthroat, so you could break up the infinite combo, but the Yawgmoth can just win the game by itself. It doesn't need the infinite combo.
Without the infinite combo, though, it's hard to use Yawgmoth to control the battlefield against that leyline.
Yeah, but without Yawgmoth, the Zulaport Cutthroat doesn't do anything.
And I'm still taking the Yawgmoth. let me make that very clear.
Yeah. All right, Boseiju, though, if it does get channeled to kill the Leyline of Combustion or the Eldrazi Temple, will deal some damage to Hodar, but I think this is actually a situation where Hodar is trying to win the game and quickly, whereas Jeff Hicks is trying to slow the game down so that those big Eldrazi can come online.
We'll see what exactly is left in Hicks' hand. Only 2 cards left, so he's nearly out of gas.
I think his last 2 cards, though, are Shatterskull Smashing and another Thought-Knots here. And if it's another Thought-Knots here, could strip something from Hodar here.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think there was a Reality Smasher at the top. So
may go ahead and play the Shatterskull Smashing as a land and then cast this 5/5 Haste Trampler and start getting aggressive.
Yeah, you got to figure that if Hodar drew a juicy spell there, probably would have played that instead of the Zulaport Cutthroat. So your Thought-Knot trigger is likely not very valuable.
Yeah, probably going to brick. And even if it's not going to brick, like a Chord of Calling or something, they can just Chord for 2 in response and then make it lackluster. Even though a Chord for 2 isn't that great, a Stringerroot Geist here is actually not that bad.
Yeah, and a Chord for 2 could find a Scavenging Ooze, which ends up being pretty good.
Or a Wild Roost, just to brick wall the Thought-Knots here.
So Soken's coming up. That's a
Shatterskull Summit. Or Shatter Skull's pass?
The Hammer's pass, I think.
I don't know.
No one knows. Oh, looks like Hicks got caught. Thought he went to go try to play the Reality Smasher, took the 3 to do so, and then decided against it. So jumped the gun a bit. Gets punished for playing the Thought Knot. There's no good card coming from Hodar. I think he's going to regret that decision in the coming turns.
Yeah, the 3 life might matter a lot against the Zulaport Cutthroat, and also just playing the Shatter Skull Smashing as a land. You know, it could be a spell and actually get rid of the Birds of Paradise and the Zulaport Cutthroat. Could have cast it that turn to kill one of them if he wanted to.
Hicks not even that interested in attacking with the Thought Knot Seer. You know, Hodar could just block with an Undying Creature, get a Zulaport Cutthroat trigger.
Now, the Thought Knot Seers can't really attack well. A triple block with Stringroot Geist, Young Wolf, and Zulaport Cutthroat will result in all 3 dying, but the Stringroot and the Young Wolf come back and bigger.
Yeah, but if you're Hicks, you just got to work your way through that.
Yeah, I agree. But it's one of the reasons why the Yawgmoth deck is so good against these creature decks that have to use the red zone to win the game.
Here's a Reality Smasher and another reader for Kyle Hodar.
5/5 trample. If you want to target it, you got to discard a card.
And you got to take 2 damage from that leyline.
Yeah, that's true. Just the 5/5 coming in. We'll see if Hodar wants to put anything in front of it. Looks like he's content taking 5. Down to 14. It's tied all. Hodar here. Heading his way. I wonder if he's got something to do end of turn. Maybe fetch for Dryad Arbor.
Maybe.
All right. Well, 2 Undying Creatures on the table for Hodar. If he finds a Yawgmoth, he can blink them back and forth forever and kill with Zulaport Cutthroat. So a Quarter Calling off the top of his game, Yawgmoth off the top of his game. We'll see if he's able to peel it here. He's got a couple looks at it before he's dead. These big Eldrazi are scary, but not quite game over just yet.
Yeah, and, in case you're just joining us, Zulaport Cutthroat does not target Jeff Hicks. It says each opponent, so it will not run afoul of that leyline of punishment.
Yep. Drew Dryad Arbor for turn. Not the best draw in the world.
Yeah, bet he wishes he fetched for that one.
Well, then he probably would have drawn the Overrun to him, so.
Yeah, that is how Magic works.
Yeah, it's either or. All right, draw for turn from Jeff Hicks. Looks like he drew a mountain. Cavern of Souls as the other land. Oh, no, that's a Fury. Okay, this is actually a huge turn for him. Cavern of Soul can name whatever, and then he can hard cast the Fury from hand and sweep up most of Kyle Hodar's board. Now, the Stringroot Geist and the Young Wolf will come back if he wants to kill them, but here's the kicker. The Zulaport Cutthroat is going to do some triggering, but everything's going to go to the graveyard if Jeff Hicks wants to.
Yeah, I'm inclined to kill the Bird, the Dryad Arbor, and the Cutthroat, and leave Hodar with just 3 power left, so he cannot trade for one of these Thought Knot Seers in combat.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I like killing Zulaport, Dryad Arbor, Bird. That seems great. And so this Fury is going to come down and do something pretty similar to that. Going to target the Young Wolf too, but
no, he does it.
Yeah,
that's going to leave.
All right.
So
well,
there should be 4 Zulaport Cutthroat triggers here. That's going to reduce Hicks to 10 and bring Hodar up to 17.
Yep. It's going to Undying the Wolf, though, and now a double block on a Thought Knot Seer could draw Hodar a card and find him a way out of this mess. But you got to admit, that Fury is backbreaking, and considering we're on a mulligan to 5 from the Mono Red Eldrazi side, and kind of a mulligan to 4 because Leyline of Combustion's a nothing.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of okay with making that trade. I don't want to leave Hodar with 2 Undying Creatures in on the battlefield.
Yeah, same, because the Yawgmoth's still potentially lethal.
And you deal more damage, so if Yawgmoth comes down, you don't have as much life to play with.
Found Quarter Calling, but it's a turn too late. He can do it for 4, but he's got so much pressure on the table, he can just say go. Hope Hicks doesn't attack again with those creatures, and then he can go for a Yawgmoth with Cord post-attack. Or post blocks even.
Yeah, if it's just the Fury and Smasher that come in, you can chump block the Fury, Cord before damage, and only have to take 5, and then you got 6 life to play with.
A little bit of Hollywood from Hodar. Draws her turn, does the shaking of the head. I can't believe I'm so unlucky. Pass the turn, but has the Court of Calling. Yeah. Might have something tricky to go get here.
Well, with only 6 life to play with, you can't go super nuts, and the Leyline of Punishment stops the Drawless Messenger kill, though I believe there was a Beseiju in Hodar's hand earlier.
Yeah, so he could besiege you down the Ley Line of Combustion before going for the kill, but here's a Shatter Skull Smashing, and this is going to be potentially deadly. However, here's something cool Kyle Hodar can do. He can go Convoke Court of Calling for X equals 4, get the Yawgmoth, and then he uses the Sacrifice effect from Yawgmoth to basically turn both of his creatures into fresh new creatures that aren't being targeted.
Yep.
And so now he's going to have 2 blockers here for these creatures coming across. Doesn't have to target anything from Jeffix side just yet. It's going to go down to 10 from the 2 sacrifices, but those 2 creatures are going to be able to block.
And, okay. Hodar reading the ley line, making sure, he can't target Hix's creatures with the Yawgmoth. Gonna only target his own. Unless he wants to take a bunch of damage, which I don't think he does.
Yep. Okay, so the Shatter Skull Smashing is targeting these 2 creatures, but once he sacrifices them to the Yawgmoth, what it's going to do is they're going to become new instances of themselves. So the target of the Shatter Skull Smashing, even though it's technically the same creature, they kind of blink out of his existence for a second and come back, so it's not quite the same.
Okay, so yeah, now we sack Yawgmoth targeting Geist. Yawgmoth undies. Geist loses its +1/+1 counter because you gave it a -1/-1 counter.
Yep.
And when that happens, those counters cancel out and vanish. Which used to not be how it worked.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shatter Skull Smashing gets countered for no legal targets, goes to the graveyard. Now, Jeff Hicks has a tough decision here. I think he needs to attack with everything. If he does, I think that actually forces a block with Yawgmoth, and that ultimately ends up making it so that Hodar might not be able to combo next turn.
Yeah, if you want to leave the Yawgmoth on the battlefield, it would have to be... yeah, you would basically just have to lose your battlefield to do that. So an everything attack here, I think, is advisable.
Let's see if Hicks finds the attack, though. This has been a complicated game with a complicated attack phase.
You got to figure that giving your opponent a card with the Thought-Knot Seer is not nearly as bad as giving them 4 life with a Yawgmoth on the battlefield.
Yeah, but here's an attack with just 2 creatures. We see the fear of losing the Thought-Knot Seer is making it so that Jeff Hicks is playing scared, and unfortunately for him, I think that's going to result in him losing the game. We have a Shrinkergeist just blocking on the Fury, and we're going to have that sacrifice to shrink the Yawgmoth, which is going to remove the counter and allow it to be undying again. We're going to take 5 from the Reality Smasher, putting Hodar down to 4. The Besage in hand can kill the Ley Line of Combustion. We can get a couple more draws. Now, it's important to note, the Zulaport Cutthroat's gone.
Yeah, so we need to find Court of Calling, Eldritch Evolution, or the Singleton Drolf's Messenger to... Oh, does the Messenger even work?
Yeah, we might not have enough life.
Yeah, we don't even have enough life to make that work.
The game might be over anyway, but we'll see if Hodar can find a way out. These lists are very tricky and have a lot of tutor effects, so we'll see.
Yeah, but there's no way to recur that Zulaport Cutthroat.
Yeah, no Eternal Witness. I would like to see some sort of recursion in the deck just for situations like this, but, it's hard to ask when in a deck that's so tight already on its package. We're just going to play a bunch of doofuses.
Can we just find enough blockers?
Yeah.
Stabilize this battlefield?
Might be the play.
You can effectively force field the Fury with the Yawgmoth. Block with an Undire. And then a Wall of Roots blanks one of the Thought-Knot Seers. The tough one is this Reality Smasher.
Yeah, because it does have trample, so you're going to have to put a bunch of toughness in front of it. Now, it might be advisable to do some heavy blocking so that you can actually trade for this turn. Another Thought-Knot Seer off the top from Hicks. That's a pretty big creature, but no real targets.
And we knew about that Besage from earlier.
Yep.
And also, that Besage is going to deal Hodar 2 damage if he wants to get rid of the Ley Line anyway.
Right. So it's possible that he's just not going to play the Ley Line at all. Or not going to target the Ley Line at all. Not going to target anything at all.
Hodar just trying to hang on here in the face of these very powerful Eldrazi. And if you recall, before this match started, I said Fury, Thought-Knot Seer, and Reality Smasher were the cards I wanted. Hicks has drawn those cards this game, and it looks a lot better for him.
Yeah. I'm going to caution the people in chat to not be so mean to the players. This is a stressful matchup. Many of these players haven't played on camera before. I'd ask you to give them, A, the benefit of the doubt, and B, just try to be a little more kind. Imagine yourself in their situation and hope that, maybe in their situation, you'd make a better block or a better attack, but it's important to remember that they're under the lights. This is a difficult time. They're playing for money and they're playing for an RCQ invite, so just be kind. Hodar here, looking for a way out. In a bind against these creatures from Jeff Hicks. They're large, they're trampling, they're in charge. Looks like he's going to do some card drawing, some bouncing back and forth with the -1, -1, +1/+1 counter. Going to draw a card with Yawgmoth. Going to do it again. Going to 2. No longer target the ley line or anything from the opponent side.
Yeah, that Beseiju has become a forest. It looks like we drew some more lands. I think that's a Verdant Catacombs. I mean, Verdant Catacombs still is a bayou because Yawgmoth and Urborg are both on the battlefield, but definitely not particularly helpful here. And I think we're going to be heading towards a game 3.
Yeah, I've been trying to find a way out for Hodar for a while now, and I haven't seen one. And Hodar's played this deck a lot more than me, and I don't think he's found one either. So
yeah, I think that cord for the Yawgmoth came a turn too late.
Yeah, it did. There was a great draw from Hicks on his Mulligan 5, and had a couple of spots where it could have maybe been a little more aggressive with the attacks and shrunk the amount of time that Hodar had. But ultimately, so much stuff could potentially making it impossible to win. But here's an Eldritch Evolution. Gonna tutor through the deck and see what we can find. Maybe something can gain life. Maybe an Essence Warden or something.
If we got the Scavenging Ooze.
Scavenging Ooze can gain some life. Yeah, and then that can unlock things. He does have the Essence Warden. We can actually just draw our deck now, right?
Okay.
Every time it's 1, right? And so if we can find the Scavenging Ooze, we can gain 1 life. And then it's not infinite yet. We need some way. Right now it's just breaking even, right? But we can draw our whole deck.
Yeah, the Essence Warden, I think, gets us out of this.
He also has Endurance where he can pitch it after he draws his deck and tuck the graveyard back in and then draw the deck again. So I actually think that this might actually go to Kyle Hodar. The Essence Warden, the Singleton, is going to give him the ability to draw the whole deck with the Yawgmoth combo. Let's see if he goes for it. Let's see what's about to happen.
Let's decide it out.
Yeah, he may have cited out it may not have cited in the Scavenging Ooze, may not have brought in the Endurance. We'll see. But here he's explaining that he's just going to draw the deck.
Yeah. You need to have the 1 life to pay up front for Yawgmoth, but then the Essence Warden will, recoup it back once the Undying trigger resolves and the creature enters the battlefield again. So because Hodar is at exactly 2, he has just enough life to start this loop and draw his deck. And then if he leaves himself at 2, just casting any other creature like a Yawgmoth, getting him up to 3, can let him Beseiju the ley line and win with Giralf's Messenger if that's in his deck. Or if Endurance is in his deck, he can Endurance his graveyard back into his library, get that Zulaport Cutthroat again, and win with the Cutthroat that gets around Leyline of Punishment by not targeting Jeff Hicks.
All right, Hodar here has established a loop. He's going to be able to draw the entire deck here. Doing it one at a time. Might want to change what he's doing in the middle of the sequence. Doesn't want to overdraw. Might actually accidentally deck himself if he's not careful.
Yeah.
Just took a peek at the sideboard. Unsure what he was looking for. Might not have the Endurance to shuffle back the Zulaport Cutthroat. Might not have a way to go up to 3 live. Needs to be able to get the Leyline of Combustion off the table, but at 2, any targeted on it is going to kill him. So he needs to find one way to gain life, and he can do that with Scavenging Ooze. Maybe one other way that we don't know about. But he might not have it in the deck.
Got to have either Endurance or Giralf's Messenger.
Well, even Giralf's Messenger, I think, is not enough because I think it might target the opponent.
It does, but he can just cast a 1-drop creature like a Yawgmoth or a mana creature, get up to 3.
Gain a life from the Essence Warden. Okay.
Well, he needs to gain 2 life, but the Messenger will also gain a life.
All right, so he can Quarter Calling for the Messenger here. All right. So the Messenger deals 2, but every time it targets, it deals 2 to himself.
Is that the Scooze?
That looks like a Scavenging Ooze. So now we can go up to 3, and then we can Beseiju the Combustion, go to 1, and then we can, maybe if he has another one, can Court of Calling or the Giralf's Messenger for the kill.
Well, we don't have enough mana to court for 3 again after just courting for 2.
Well, okay. I don't know, man. we have infinite things. We can draw the deck.
We can untap the Scavenging the
Strangerroot
Geist.
Yep, and the Young Wolf if it's there. And that'll allow for a Quarter Calling.
This is really smart. Using the Essence Warden of the loop lets us convoke multiple times in a turn with our Undying creatures.
All right, I think he's got it here. Hodar finding a way to fight through this board from Jeff Hicks. We'll see if he can kill. He's got so many infinite little mini combos going. Gonna go for a Young Wolf, and now he tapped an Urborg for it, but he does have the Yawgmoth Cradle in play, so every land is a forest, and every land's a swamp, even the fetch lands.
Yeah, all of his lands tap for every relevant color. It does not matter how he taps his lands.
Everything's a bayou.
As long as he taps the appropriate number of them.
Yeah. Small chance that there's no Jarl's Messenger left in the deck, but we're going to gain a life here. That's going to put us up to 5, I believe.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to put us up to 6. Now 7.
Bird. Okay. Well, we're
8.
using a lot of our mana. Now we're down to a cord for 2. That's not going to get endurance. Well, can we just draw up to the endurance? If it's there, maybe the endurance isn't there.
Yeah, that's possible that there's no endurance, and the Boseju's not lethal because maybe there's no Jarl's Messenger or no other Court of Calling.
Yeah, we are going to discard. So either Kyle Hodar has missed these lines or has sideboarded in a way that they are not available. And he did check his sideboard. So that makes me think that it is the latter.
Yeah, I thought I saw a Court of Calling, so I think there's just no Jarl's Messenger in the deck.
Because if you don't think the line is there, there's no reason to check the sideboard. The only reason to check the sideboard is if you found the line and are like, oh, wait, that's not possible because that card's not in my deck. Why would I ever board in Reclamation Sage? It's just unnecessary.
So let's see if Jeff Hicks can find an out here. A very gummed up board from Kyle Hodar, but
Looks like either a Chalice of the Void. I think he's casting it for 2. So that will stop the potential endurance line from winning unless Kyle Hodar finds a Eldritch Evolution. Yeah, you can just find Evolution or Cord first, then Endurance, then still find the Cutthroat. So I don't think that stops much of anything, and he just passes the turn.
Yeah, but now with all the stuff that's in play, 8 life for Hodar, he can draw his entire deck essentially, and then cast a bunch of stuff. Gonna win the fairway, even if he doesn't have a Jarl's Messenger or some way to recur with Endurance. It'll be interesting to see how he sequences because we know he's got the World's Fair.
With the 4 Undying Creatures, he has 4 free blocks on the Thought-Knots and the Fury. And with the 6 Scavenging Ooze, he now has the Reality Smasher checked. So Kyle Hodar has completely stabilized his position on the battlefield. Hicks doesn't have any relevant attacks left. And we might just see Hodar win a fair game by drawing a bunch of cards and casting like 25 creatures.
Right. Now, we do see the Proliferate from Yawgmoth. That's going to increase the Chalice of the Void to 3. It's going to unlock 2 drops. 2 Strangler guys coming in off the hand. That's going to gain some life off the Essence Warden as well. Ignoble Hierarch. Again, he just has a ton of mana thanks to drawing a bunch of cards. The Essence Warden negates the life loss from Yawgmoth, so essentially able to draw the whole deck at any point. We'll see if he wants to just kind of win via fair game. Again, maybe no Jarl's Messenger. We don't know for sure. But definitely no Zulaport Cutthroat that's in the graveyard.
So here's a cord for 3. That might as well be free since we can use Essence Warden and Yawgmoth to untap all these Undying Creatures.
Okay, so he's looking through the deck. He's going to see if he can find the kill. Looks like he's just going to search up a Grist. Now, all these this is essentially a free Court of Calling too, because when you do the Strangerroot Geist and the Young Wolves off of the Convoke, you can use the Yawgmoth trick to untap them all. Basically, we've seen that happen multiple times. So it's kind of like a free Court of Calling for a free Grist. We can minus the Grist to kill something, and what that's going to end up doing is it's going to deal us 2 damage from the Leyline of Combustion, but at the same time, it's going to start clearing the blockers, and that's exactly what we want to be doing.
Jeff Hicks does have to remember his Leyline trigger. He did not indicate it, but he might have said something verbally.
Yeah, the 2 life damage did happen. He was at 12, and now he's at 10.
Okay. Gaze 1 from the Strangler guys coming back from via Undying. With Essence Warden. Yeah, I think Hodar just didn't have either of those 2 cards, the Endurance or the Jarl's Messenger.
Probably shrunk the combo package just a little bit by trimming the Jarl's Messenger. It is susceptible to graveyard hate, so perhaps, or just, it's also kind of difficult to cast sometimes.
And susceptible to Leyline of Punishment. This is a local tournament. Hodar might be familiar with this deck.
Right.
Might have seen Hicks play it before.
Yeah, had to run out that Zulaport Cutthroat earlier and it died, so now just kind of left trying to small ball his way to victory.
But I think it's... Oh.
All right, here's a 1-mana Boseiju activation thanks to the reduction. There is a Yawgmoth in place. That's going to deal him 2 from the Leyline. Jeff Hicks going to go search up a basic. Can't get Waste, actually. It's a weird clause. Yeah. You have to go get a mountain or a dual land that has a basic land type. And while Waste says it counts as a basic land, Waste is not a basic land type. Very weird wording on Boseiju.
Yeah, but does have 2 mountains in the deck, so had 1 left to find there. There's 2 basic mountains, 2 wastes in Hicks' list.
All right, so no more Leyline of Combustion. So now Yawgmoth deck can kind of just do whatever, sacrifice the whole board to kill a creature or something, and then or put a counter on everything and proliferate multiple times.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna see here.
All right, so minus a counter on the Thought-Knot's here, but every time he does it, this is a draw, and he only has so many times he can activate, even though he has the Essence Warden to gain life.
Well, I think we can sack the 2 remaining Geists without a counter and the Yawgmoth without a counter, get 1/1/1 counter on each of Hicks's creatures, then use all of our mana because all the lands are untapped, discard 4 cards, proliferate 4 times, put +1/+1 counters on all our Geists,
Yeah,
shrink down all
-1/-1 all there.
yeah,
So.
and make this a lethal attack.
Yep.
So I think that's Hodar's plan to end this game, and it should work pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. Also got another Grist, so could use that to clear the blockers, but I kind of like doing it in style with the Yawgmoth personally.
Yeah. Wants to be careful and leave 1 free undying creature around just in case. That's fine.
I think we're out of black dice. I think that's the problem here. We ran out. There's one. Okay, we got one more. That's fine. All right, so here comes 1 proliferate. We can proliferate multiple times this turn, and we're going to shrink all the opposing creatures and grow our own. This is doing it the hard way. This is impressive stuff here from Hodar.
It's pretty clear that Hodar knows how to play his deck. So
Yeah.
I'm growing more and more confident that last turn was not him missing something and just, having sideboarded the necessary cards out. And honestly, when I say necessary, that's kind of a misstep because they weren't necessary at all.
Yeah.
He just found a line to stabilize the battlefield and is now using every part of the buffalo to finish off Jeff Hicks here in game 2.
All right, 1 more proliferate should kill both Thought-Knots and draw 2 cards. And then the last proliferate should kill the Thought-Knots here. And while he's tapping all these green lands to proliferate, there is an Urborg in play and a Yawgmoth Cradle in play as well. So everything is Overgrown Tomb. Everything's going to grab. All right.
I think he's using the Grist there to finish off that.
Nah, just sacking the Noble Hierarch for -1/-1. So here comes
sure.
a huge attack. This is more than 10 damage. Jeff Hicks gonna be dead, and Kyle Hodar moves 1 step closer to qualifying for DreamHack Atlanta, taking down his quarterfinal match against Mono Red Eldrazi. That Yawgmoth deck putting up some real sweet gameplay.
Interestingly, that Leyline of the Void would have actually been a very good draw because Hodar's Urborg would have made it castable and would have
true.
stopped all of those undying shenanigans.